Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pantar Dragon, and today we're going to be doing a video on the changes for patch 6.21. And there's actually a huge Nasus buff that's coming out. Nidalee is getting a nerf, and Graves is getting some E changes. So it actually is going to be an interesting patch, but also a rather small one as well. Also, this video is sponsored by Pro Guides. Check them out for all your rank game needs. If you want, you can chat with them for some league tips. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so first off, there's going to be a bunch of Halloween skins that are coming out. That's kind of cool, but there's also going to be Doombots. Doombots is coming out for the rotating queue, I think that weekend of the patch release, and I must say it's quite an adventure until you beat it twice. There's like a super hard mode that I didn't play, but I didn't really want to make 2 videos on it, so I didn't get to play the harder mode at all. So yeah, hopefully you guys have a jolly good time with those Doombots. But on to the next thing, and we're going to be talking about Graves. So his E got a big change now. Instead of it now being 4 stacks, it now stacks up to 8 stacks. But also your armor and magic resist is now lowered by half. But dashing towards an enemy gives you 2 stacks, while dashing away like a little bitch gives you only 1 stack. So in the early game, I don't really think it affects him too much. He only gets about, like not really too much resist, but also clear wise it doesn't really affect him because he really takes no damage as he can knock back the monsters. But for say stacking your stacks off an epic monster like Baron or Dragon, and a team fight breaks out, you probably won't have as much stacks when you go into that team fight. Unless you've been doing the Dragon or Baron for a long time, then you probably have the 8 stacks. I also hope that this change in nerf does not affect the way you play Graves, because if you're dashing every time in a team fight into the enemy team just because you want to get 2 stacks instead of 1, you might die more often. But yeah, this change will probably shit on his mid game and late game just a little bit. I feel like he definitely won't be able to 1v5 anymore because he's gonna have to kite in some instances, but I also feel like he'll still be kind of OP because his damage is just so strong and you still have that armor penetration build. So yeah, I don't know if he'll be permabanned still, but I think he's gonna be a strong pick for solo queue, but maybe not permabanned anymore. Or could be, but I'm not sure. Anyways, I think his win rate will go down by about 2%. You know what, let's just say 1.5%. Next up, let's talk about the hotfix that came to Ive Earned that apparently came into the last patch a little bit later, and you can see his health growth, magic resist, attack speed, and attack speed growth have all gone up. But one thing that caught my eye was his attack speed has gone up to 0.644, when on the PvE server, I saw that it was 0.694 or something that was really high. And apparently, I don't know, I guess they did a last minute change and didn't have that implemented. But yeah, I mean, when I played him on the PvE server with that attack speed that was really high, I didn't feel like he was broken at all. I felt like he was actually still shit. And apparently he's actually a little bit weaker when he came to the live servers. But yeah, this buff that they gave to him, giving more hit point, everything else, I guess is kind of decent, but he's still really weak in my opinion. He's also a very cheesy jungler, and maybe people haven't figured out how to build him, but I think he just completely sucks. I definitely think he deserves more bigger buffs, but for now, I think he's not viable, and if you pick him, you're kind of wanting to lose. In a ranked game, of course, if you're picking him in a normal game, then, have fun with him. He's pretty fun since he's kind of new and very different from other junglers. But I think his win rate is also really low right now, so yeah, just wait until someone figures him out or something, and then maybe his win rate will go up and everyone will catch on. Next up, Kogmaw's ultimate is actually getting a huge change. And you're probably thinking, what is all this crap doing on my screen? So if you do want to read all these changes, then pause the video. Otherwise, you can look at the simplified version I have made to make it look more like this. So basically his ultimate has better damage but lower execution damage. Also, mana cost is lowered for each ultimate, and the time between that little stacking ultimate mana thing has been decreased by 2 seconds, and now it does more damage based on enemies missing health. Then it says enemies below 40% still take extra double base damage. So it gets a little stupid and confusing, but just know that it has better base damage and lower execution damage. Do I think this is a buff or a nerf for him? I think it's a buff. I mean, people who are under 25% health, that doesn't really come often, but now his ultimate is a little bit more reliable for just doing damage when they have a lot of health. Do I think he's going to be super OP because of this buff? Probably not. His win rate is disastrously low, and he's one of the shittiest AD carries at the moment. But I think his win rate will go up by like 1.5%. Having the mana cost being less is really nice for him, but I don't think he'll ever come back into the meta until he receives some like buffs just in general. Next up, let's talk, these buffs for Nasus are, they're just so fucking good. Like, giving AD to Nasus, that doesn't really matter too much because your power comes from your Q. so he didn't really give a shit about AD, but now that he gets armor and a Mar on use, and he also gains armor and a Mar for every second he's in his ultimate form, I think he's gonna be fucking super huge in the late game. He's gonna be literally unkillable, and you just become a super duper super dog who kills everyone. You also still have your maximum percent health damage Sunfire Cape, and I mean, right now if you compare Nasus to Renekton, you just kind of look at Renekton, you're like, your ultimate sucks dick. But now when you use Nasus's R, becomes super god mode. Okay, maybe after level 11, but not so much at level 6. And also level 16, you're just fucking probably going to be unkillable. Also, the range on your Q is a little bit bigger when you're on your ultimate form, so I bet that's going to help people a lot. But yeah, this champion might become like super meta, maybe a permaban. I don't know, he kind of sucks in lane, but his mid game, late game power spike is probably going to be super insane. So we'll just have to see, but I predict his win rate, it'll go up by about 3.5%, maybe a little bit more. You have to remember, it's only his ultimate, not his basic abilities that is affected, so his laning phase isn't really too affected, but his late game looks pretty god mode to me. Alright, next up, let's talk about the Nidalee changes. So nerfs coming all around from her Q, Cougar form mostly. Basically all of her cooldowns for her Cougar form have been increased by 1 second. I feel like somehow this is going to affect her hunt passive, but probably not, and I don't think it will affect her clears too much. Well, maybe the early game, but you know, once she gets her Runic Echoes, she becomes a super fast jungler still. And now her E, her AP ratio has gone up, the heal value has changed to be super shit, but unless you have very low hit point or something, then it'll heal you for the same amount, as it did in previous patches. So obviously right now in high elo, she is like a really strong jungler, because everyone knows it's the player. Except me, but that's the exception. But yeah, she's just like a permaban or, you know, first pick if she's up type of champion right now. But after this change, I feel like she won't be permabanned as much. Well, she might be. But the cooldown nerfs plus her E nerfs, ooh, that's definitely going to take a hit to her win rate. And I feel like her win rate will drop by about 3.5%. And I feel like she won't be as popular. Of course, the Nidalee mains will still play her, but I think jungle mains will shy away from her and probably pick something like Olaf or something more meta. But unless her early game is still good and she can snowball the game, you know, before 20 minutes, or well, okay, 30 minutes, then she'll probably be still a good jungler. Otherwise, bye bye Nidalee, you're donezo. And finally, for the last change, it's a very small change, but Zack's E is now getting an indicator where he's going to land and how big it's going to be, as shown in these pictures. So it's going to be good for the enemy team who is facing against him, because then they can see if it hits or not. But I'm just wondering, is this going to be an indicator where like it shows before he lands and like, you know, he's coming from the fog of war? It actually might be a nerf for him if the indicator comes in really fast, because sometimes you don't see him come in and it surprises you. But if you see this indicator before you see him on your screen, then, you know, that's kind of like, oh, I should flash here so I don't die from him. But I feel like this is going to be a nerf for him, maybe like a 0.5% decrease. It's not really too much of a big deal, right? It's just people are probably going to flash out of his E more often now. And that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you didn't, make sure to subscribe. Anyways, I am Pansar Dragon, and I'll see you guys next time.